Here's something your eye doctor almost never mentions, and it's something most people only discover when it's already affecting their vision. There's a very common everyday food that may be quietly raising your eye pressure and making your glaucoma worse during the night while you sleep. It sounds unbelievable because you might be doing everything right, taking your drops on schedule, keeping every appointment, following your doctor's instructions. Yet the optic nerve still shows those little changes your specialist wants to monitor. And the truth is that these changes may have nothing to do with your medication at all, but rather with what ends up on your plate every day. And I'm not talking about exotic diets or strange ingredients. I'm talking about one food so ordinary that most people over 60 eat it several times a week, completely unaware that new research links it to nighttime pressure spikes and faster vision loss. What's even more surprising is that many eye surgeons now admit this single dietary habit can quietly undo months of careful glaucoma treatment. One study even showed that improving your food choices can help stabilize eye pressure almost as effectively as adding another medication, without costing you a cent. So if your doctor has told you that your glaucoma is stable, or if you've noticed them becoming a little more cautious at each visit, stay with me, because in the next few minutes I'm going to show you the everyday food that may be damaging your optic nerve and the simple changes you can start using today to protect your eyesight for years ahead. Before your next meal, you truly need to hear this. This food: high-sodium processed foods. When I finally reveal the food that raises so many concerns among eye specialists, most people are shocked, not because it's unusual, but because it's sitting right in their pantry. The real danger isn't some rare ingredient, it's the constant overload of sodium from everyday processed foods that quietly sneaks into meals. Instant noodles on a rushed evening, packaged soups on a cold day, a quick slice of processed ham because it's convenient. All of these seem harmless. But for someone dealing with glaucoma, high eye pressure, or high blood pressure, they behave like fuel thrown onto a slow-burning fire, creating the perfect conditions for optic nerve damage to progress without symptoms or warning. Research involving tens of thousands of people shows that high sodium intake consistently leads to higher eye pressure, especially in those genetically predisposed to glaucoma. It's not one salty meal that creates the problem, it's the pattern. That extra pinch of salt here, a processed sausage there, canned vegetables preserved in brine, each one nudges the pressure upward just a bit, again and again. For older adults dealing with high blood pressure, age-related changes, or a family history of glaucoma, this daily sodium buildup becomes a genuine risk. And because vision loss begins silently, most people don't realize the damage until it's well underway. To make it easier to understand, I often point to everyday examples: the frozen lasagna that saves time, the chips you snack on while watching TV, the bacon that tastes irresistible, or the canned foods that seem convenient. These items don't look dangerous, but for someone managing glaucoma, they can gradually raise eye pressure night after night. I've seen people transform their eye health simply by replacing canned soups with fresh ones, choosing fresh meats over deli slices, or seasoning their meals with herbs instead of salt. And once you see how powerful these small changes can be, the next question becomes obvious. How exactly does all that sodium affect your eyes from the inside? How salt affects your eyes. When I explain how salt affects glaucoma, most people finally understand what's really happening inside the eye. High sodium or heavily processed foods make your body retain fluid, raise your blood volume, and increase your blood pressure. And for someone who already deals with high eye pressure, this combination quickly becomes a real problem. The tiny vessels that feed the optic nerve are supposed to adjust automatically to protect your vision, but in people with glaucoma, that system often struggles. It's like forcing an old faucet to handle sudden pressure. Eventually it stops regulating the way it should, and the nerve fibers that keep your sight stable become more vulnerable. Think of your eye as a small room with delicate plumbing that must stay balanced. When too much salt becomes part of your daily routine, the pipes swell, pressure builds, and the entire space becomes tighter than it should. One salty meal won't damage your optic nerve instantly, but the ongoing sodium buildup, the fluid retention, and even the day's caffeine push your eye pressure slightly higher over time. And that slow, steady rise is exactly what accelerates glaucoma. It's the daily habits, not the occasional treat, that shape long-term eye health. And that naturally leads to a simple question. Could salt be slipping into your meals more than you realize? That's where a quick self-check becomes incredibly useful. Quick self-check. Are you eating too much salt? Sometimes the simplest questions reveal the most important habits, especially when it comes to protecting your vision. Ask yourself if you reach for the salt shaker before even tasting your food, or if instant noodles, canned products, and processed meals show up more often than you'd like to admit. And think about whether your meals feel flavorless, unless you use seasoning cubes or ready-made sauces. If these patterns sound familiar, your eyes are likely dealing with more sodium than they can comfortably handle, especially if you also have high blood pressure or rising eye pressure. Your eyes don't speak, but they do give subtle signs. Maybe you wake up puffier than usual, or your doctor mentions your pressure was a bit higher this time. These aren't random events. They often reflect daily choices that quietly strain the optic nerve. I've seen many people protect their vision simply by swapping canned soups for fresh ones, or seasoning foods with herbs instead of salt. Small changes can make a real difference. And once you understand how salt sneaks into your routine, it's natural to wonder what other foods might be raising your eye pressure without you realizing it. Which brings us to the next important part of this journey: other foods and drinks that can worsen glaucoma. After you understand how salty and heavily processed foods raise eye pressure, it's important to look at a few other everyday habits that can quietly work against your glaucoma. One of the most common is caffeine. I'm not asking you to give up your morning coffee, but it's important to know how it behaves in your body. For people with glaucoma or high blood pressure, caffeine can temporarily raise eye pressure, and research shows that a strong cup of coffee, or several cups throughout the day, can increase the risk of optic nerve stress, especially in those genetically predisposed. One morning cup is usually fine. The problem comes from drinking coffee, tea, sodas, or energy drinks repeatedly throughout the day. Another big contributor is an ultra-processed, high-fat diet. Fried foods, donuts, packaged pastries, and anything with trans fats may be comforting, but they raise inflammation, affect circulation, increase blood pressure, and create the perfect environment for glaucoma to progress. You don't need to eliminate every treat, but noticing your patterns matters. Simple swaps, like choosing air-fried foods over deep-fried ones, or replacing sugary snacks with fruit and yogurt, often lead to better energy, improved blood pressure, and more stable pressure readings at the doctor. Alcohol also deserves attention. Moderate drinking, like the occasional glass of wine, is usually fine, but frequent or heavy drinking affects hydration, sleep, circulation, and blood pressure, all of which influence eye pressure. When you're managing glaucoma, maintaining stability is essential, and anything that disrupts that balance becomes important to recognize. And once you understand the habits that can quietly worsen your condition, it becomes even more motivating to explore the foods that truly support and protect your optic nerve, which leads naturally into the next part of your journey: what you can eat to protect your eyes. Now that you know which foods can push your eye pressure in the wrong direction, I want to shift the focus to something far more encouraging: the foods that help protect your eyes every single day. I often say that your body isn't just a machine, it's more like a garden, and a garden flourishes when it receives the right nutrients. Leafy greens like kale, spinach, and collard greens are packed with natural nitrates that support healthy blood flow to the optic nerve, which is essential for anyone managing glaucoma. Colorful fruits and vegetables bring powerful antioxidants that help defend nerve cells from stress, and many of these foods are already part of meals people enjoy. A simple breakfast of oatmeal with berries or a lunch that includes carrots and peppers becomes a quiet investment in protecting your vision and slowing long-term damage. I also love giving practical swaps that anyone can adopt without feeling overwhelmed. Instead of choosing processed meats, I encourage you to try grilled salmon, sardines, or even a simple baked fish rich in omega-3 fats. These foods support circulation, help reduce inflammation, and create a more stable environment for managing glaucoma and keeping eye pressure under control. If you're always on the move, grabbing a handful of almonds instead of chips or adding a little spinach to your morning smoothie are easy choices that make a meaningful difference. None of this cures glaucoma, but these habits give your optic nerve the support it needs to stay healthier for longer. I've seen people transform their routines with small, consistent steps. One viewer replaced nightly frozen dinners with simple homemade meals seasoned with herbs instead of salt. Another swapped soft drinks for water and herbal tea, which helped reduce the caffeine that had been silently raising her pressure. Within a few weeks, both noticed better energy and more stable pressure readings during checkups. These improvements matter, and once you understand the foods that strengthen your eyes, it's natural to wonder how to reduce salt without losing flavor. That curiosity leads directly into the next part, where I show you exactly how to make your meals delicious while protecting your vision. Step by step, How to reduce salt without losing flavor. Whenever we talk about cutting back on salt, people often laugh and say, "But salt is what makes food taste good." And I completely understand that feeling. Still, reducing your salt intake isn't about taking the joy out of eating. It's about giving yourself more control over your glaucoma and long-term eye health. The first step is surprisingly simple. Keep the salt shaker off the table. Just removing that visual cue helps prevent the automatic habit of adding salt before tasting your food. I've watched families improve their health dramatically with this tiny adjustment, proving that small steps really can protect the optic nerve over time. The next step is all about gradual change. Your taste buds adapt quickly when you give them the chance, almost like students learning a new lesson day by day. If you reduce your salt little by little each week, within a month your perception of flavor changes completely. I remember a woman who switched her instant noodles for a homemade chicken soup seasoned with garlic and herbs. At first she missed the saltiness, but after a couple of weeks she couldn't believe she ever enjoyed foods with that much sodium. As she made these changes, her pressure readings at the doctor also became steadier, showing how powerful simple consistency can be. I love giving flavor alternatives that don't increase eye pressure or harm your health. Instead of relying on salty seasoning cubes, build flavor with herbs, spices, and natural aromatics. Garlic, onion, lemon zest, turmeric, oregano, and rosemary can completely transform your meals and enhance your cooking. Even if you're not confident in the kitchen, starting with small steps like squeezing lemon on fish or sprinkling oregano on chicken is enough to elevate your food without depending on salt. These swaps turn every meal into an ally for your eyes instead of something that quietly works against you. Hydration and portion control also play an important role. Drinking enough water helps your body process sodium more efficiently and reduces fluid retention, which is especially important for blood pressure and eye pressure. I always say that your body can't clean itself properly without water. It's like trying to wash a room without any. And avoiding very large salty meals at night helps prevent pressure spikes while you sleep. When you start putting all these steps together, you feel more empowered and naturally wonder what medical steps still matter the most, even with a healthier routine. That brings us right into the next essential reminders. Important medical reminders. At this point, I like to slow down and speak with the same care I'd offer to someone in my own family. Even though your diet plays a powerful role in helping manage glaucoma, it doesn't replace the core treatments your doctor prescribes. Eye drops, laser procedures, and surgeries when needed are still the main tools that control eye pressure and protect your optic nerve. Sometimes people feel hopeful after improving their diet and think they can stop their medication, but I always explain that diet supports treatment, it never substitutes it. Just like eating well helps someone who takes medication for high blood pressure, eating well helps your eyes alongside your glaucoma care. I also encourage everyone to talk to their ophthalmologist before making major dietary changes, especially if they have kidney issues, diabetes, or cardiovascular concerns. Your doctor understands how all your conditions work together and can guide you safely. Glaucoma is not a journey you walk alone. It's a partnership between you, your doctor, and your daily habits working together. And once you understand this balance, it becomes easier to imagine how much stronger your results can be when mindset, lifestyle, and medical care all move in the same direction. Now that you understand how something as simple as a daily food choice can shape your eye pressure, influence your glaucoma, and support long-term eye health, I want to ask you something important. What small change are you willing to start with today? Maybe it's cutting back on those salty snacks, choosing more fresh foods, or paying closer attention to the quiet signals your eyes have been sending. What difference could it make in your life if your vision stayed stable for the next 10, 20, or even 30 years simply because you decided to take these steps now? Think about the habits you're ready to let go of and the new ones you're ready to bring in. These choices don't just protect your vision, they protect your independence, your confidence, and your ability to enjoy the world around you. And if this video helped you see things more clearly, don't keep it to yourself. Tap the like button so this message reaches more people who need it. Share it with a friend or family member who struggles with high blood pressure or glaucoma. And if you're new here, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss practical advice that can change your health and your future. Before you leave, don't stop your learning here. The next video appearing on your screen continues this conversation and gives you even more tools to protect your eyesight and strengthen your overall health. Your future self will be grateful that you decided to keep going.